and there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another incredible installment, 8 days until Christmas. From very high above, all the puerile and insipid forms of Wyoming mainstream media, this is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics studio in Sheridan, Wyoming.
I have a problem.
What is your problem now?
I think incredible is the wrong word to use.
Oh, I think it's stupendous.
Well, think about incredible. Credible means that you are dependable, reliable. Once you've heard it here, you know it's
no.
When you say incredible, you are taking away your own credibility.
That's not true at all. Incredible means amazing. It means it's so fantastic. No, to everybody else also.
What does it mean to Rush?
Rush was fantastic. So,
I always wonder about that word, though.
I know words mean things.
Yeah,
but sometimes they mean things that you don't think. Well, anyway, my friends, welcome to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a Wednesday. Today on the program, we're joined by Sheridan County GOP Chairman James Temple. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Did you finally get him turned on? Let's try that again. James, welcome to the program.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
All right. So it's been quite a while. Merry Christmas to you. It's been quite a while since you've been on the show. So why don't you just take a minute or two and tell my audience about yourself?
So I was unfortunate enough to be elected the chairman of the GOP.
Unfortunate,
Unfortunate enough on March 31st of this year. Had no idea how much work was involved in it, but I am learning rapidly still. We have some good people in the Central Committee, and then, of course, I do think we have some Democrats in the Central Committee. That goes without saying.
Yeah, absolutely. There's redcoats in there.
So that's where the internal fight, is constantly going on, the struggle. But overall, we're changing things slowly, changing some of the way we do business, and it's been going really well. I've really been enjoying it.
Okay, so let's talk about that internal struggle for a minute. I see in news reports all the time, there's a split in the party, where Republicans can't figure it out. I mean, describe this internal struggle for me. I mean, what are they talking about? What's the reality of it?
Well, when I first took over, I was under the impression, just from experience of watching the meetings and being involved in the party, that we only had basically two sides. We had grassroots conservatives who believe 100% of the platform, and then we had some more moderates in the party that believe most of the platform or take a different view on certain aspects of the platform. And that is very true, and I have no problem dealing fairly with either side, but we do have a third split, and it has been caused by this big rally to push Bo Beitman higher and higher. And I've never met Bo, never spoke to him, never shaken his hand.
Well, he would have to show up for you to meet him.
Yeah, I've absolutely never met the man. But the people that support Bo tend to be on more of the conservative grassroots side, and they are absolutely livid that I refuse to support the man. So, and truly, it's not my place to support him. My place is I'm the referee for the party, basically. I need to make sure
Right.
that the will of the body is done. It's not my place to recommend candidates or say, yep, this has got to be our guy, especially going into an election year before a primary.
Well, for me personally, if I'm going to support a candidate, you got to be truthful with what you're telling me. And I realize we're dealing with politicians, and the truth and politicians generally don't end up in the same sentence. But what I've learned about Senator Dennis Beitman is his name is actually name is Dennis.
Right,
It's not
right.
Bo.
Yeah.
What I've learned about Dennis is that he took a what could have been a largely conservative Senate and gave it away to the redcoats. I mean, and that is a fact.
Yep, and that's the same understanding that I have, and not to mention his faux pas in Florida.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
call
We all
it.
want nuclear waste.
And even though you know people that know that that exists and have heard the audio of that meeting, they still don't think it's true.
That's incredible.
That's just
see. I
I don't
almost used the word
understand
again.
that. I just don't get it. My thing is my opinion of Bo is my opinion. I absolutely have the right not to support him personally based on what I've heard
Sure.
and seen. So,
Well, and like I said, let's just be real about what you support, what your plans are, what your agenda is, and just go forward. There's an audience, and I can't believe I'm going to make this analogy, but podcasting is a lot like politics in a way. That there is a podcast for just about any topic you can think of.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure that there's a podcast about flavored mushrooms or the flavor of mushrooms, and there are people that listen to it. Now, the question is, how many people listen to whatever podcast? And the reason I say politicians are like that is there's an audience for every type of politician. Even the ones that Eric Swalwell, I find him detestable.
yeah.
Okay, but
yeah.
he keeps getting elected. I don't know if he's going to be elected governor or not, but there are people that follow him. I mean, there are even people that vote for Pendergraft over here.
Yeah, I don't understand that one either. No, I'm just kidding, Ken.
No, in all honesty, I mean, Ken is one of the good ones, and it's not.
He
I'm not
is,
just saying
yeah.
that because he's my producer and my friend.
I don't even vote for me because I want to go fishing. I was kind of intrigued by your remark about you were unfortunate enough, and I wanted to say, well, you can resign at any time. Some people
Yeah,
would
what is
wanna
that
hear
about? Are you going to
Alright.
resign? And why do people want you to resign?
Yeah, so
I guess we're going there.
yeah, I guess we're going there, aren't we? So there's a gentleman in the community that likes to do regular letters to the editor, and he did this one several weeks back. That when somebody brought it to my attention, because believe it or not, I don't read the Sheridan Press on a regular basis.
Well, most people don't.
So when he brought it to my attention, I read the article and I was a little bit incensed, and not because of anything necessarily that he said to two of our sitting representatives, Lori Bratton and Tom Kelly. They are absolutely capable of defending themselves, but it was more the theme of the actual article was to refer to our platform as a religious manifesto. And basically, he was knocking the Christian aspects of the Republican Party platform, which that I'm going to chime in on.
No, sure. I mean, that's kind of your
about it.
bailiwick.
Yeah,
right? That's
exactly.
And he has written a number of pieces in the Sheridan Dress, and I mean, none of them are smack of being a Republican. I mean, it's obvious if you read the things that he wrote. I mean, he's pro-abortion, he's pro-big government. Well, we could go down the list, but he very clearly does not support a Republican position.
Right.
And so, yeah, I guess we may as well go there. We didn't know if we were going to talk about this at the beginning of the show, but I kind of let the cat out of the
No
bag. But
worries.
anyway, so at the county central committee meeting, you made a comment that you talked to Cheyenne, and they said, well, he's not a registered Republican, which unfortunately I did not have the microphone at that time.
Right. Right.
But I mean, he is. So
Well, which I've come to find out just in the last day. From actually the clerk's office here had provided him with his actual registration card. He had sent that photo to somebody that I had coffee with the other day, and that individual showed it to me. And I said,
Sure.
well, number one, despite what this man says or does in his articles, there's no way anybody is going to go to the trouble in his position in the community to forge one of
Right,
these things.
right.
So looking at that, I was like, nope, that actually shows that he was registered as of 2024. He voted in the election. Signals may have gotten crossed somewhere. The information I got was a little different back when I initially called. So I don't know what happened there, but evidently, yes, he is a registered voter.
So my
Right.
question to you, real quickly, is how would you know? And the reason I ask that, excuse me, the reason I ask how would you know is I think it's important for people to understand a little bit of your background and the things that you do know, your work at the county.
So yeah, so I was the Sheridan County Elections Director for 2023 and 2024, going all the way through the magical Trump election in 2024, thank God. And I had a lot of experience with the registrations, the WireReg system, which is where Secretary of State houses all of the voter registrations and information for the state. And my coworker, Jessica Fox, who was just amazing, she had a 10-year background in elections when I took over. So, I mean, we just changed things, pulled them right in line with statute. But registration was one of the big things that we had to work on. So, yeah, I know about that. I did federal background investigations for years before I ever moved to Sheridan. I was a police officer and a detective
now-
for years before that. So,
Yeah, and you don't work in the clerk's office anymore.
No,
And
no,
so you don't really have access to, the registration system.
Right.
So what you did is you called the people that do have access to that information. And what'd they tell you?
Well, and I was told that they're not seeing them active in the system.
Okay.
So whether the system was having issues that day, I don't know. Whether the wrong name was accidentally typed in, I don't know. I'm not saying anything nefarious about Secretary Gray's office. They're actually really good at what they do. Just for whatever reason, that particular day.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, and
stuff
I've
happens.
got the records from, I think, going all the way back to 2006 for both the primary and the general election. And when you open up those files, they're huge.
Oh, yeah.
It takes, I've got a pretty fast computer, and it takes quite a while for
Yeah.
it to pull it up. So I mean, you could miss that, but yeah, I mean, it was a mistake. So
Well, and the other thing too was I actually have a registered voter list still from 2024 in Excel spreadsheet format.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
what mine
have
do.
every registered voter in the county on that sheet. And I went through that sheet and I couldn't find him on it anywhere. He wasn't showing, which was another part of why I was like, well, he truly must not be registered.
and it may have
So-
been because see the records that I have, the earliest ones or the latest ones I have is from 2022. I don't have last elections yet, and in there, like it does show that he voted in the Republican primary.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we don't know what he did between then and 2024. There's a lot of Democrats or redcoats that switch their party registration so that they can vote in the Republican primary. And then at some point, I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying this is a possibility that maybe he switched it back to Republican. But who knows? In the end, does it really matter? No.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, it was simply an information error. It's no big deal. It definitely doesn't qualify as slander.
No.
I Webster's can give you the definition. It's just somebody who's upset that I had the nerve to respond to him, and now he's on the warpath. And the thing is you say what you want about me. I really don't care, David. You know
Yeah.
me personally. Ken knows me.
Oh, we say a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
about
I
you.
know, and I just don't care.
Only when we're really bored, though.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have nothing going on.
But yeah, not planning on resigning. Not going to happen. I do believe I was put in this position for a reason. The people that asked me to run for it did not warn me what I was getting into, which is what I meant by unfortunately. So if somebody calls you in February and says, "Hey, I've got a great idea," don't answer.
It's
the
already
phone.
happened
Just-
to Ken.
Just hang up.
Yeah. We have a similar background in that I got a phone call. Would you do me a favor? Sure. I need you to run. Oh, well, what's that take? Well, you got a couple of months, and then other than that, it's a little bit of committee work. They didn't tell me, how much time does this gig take? All of it.
Yeah,
Every bit of it.
Exactly.
All right. So anyway, you're thoroughly enjoying your time as GOP chairman, and stirring the pot up. So I think that's a good thing. And by the way, Mr. Rogers, Darren, you are welcome to come on the program anytime you like. Our studio is pretty centrally located, though I will not give you the address of it yet. But if you want to come on the show, you are more than welcome to come in here and sit down, and we'll talk about whatever you
Yeah,
want.
definitely do not give out an 8-digit grid coordinate.
No.
Fire for effect.
Yeah, call it an airstrike. No. So, but yeah, you are welcome on the program, and in fact, I would love to have you on here just to hear your perspective. And that's another thing that I love about doing this show is we've been able to have some people on the program that I probably wouldn't be able to talk to otherwise. Mike Yin, Carly Provenza, former Chief Justice Kate Fox.
We had Josh Durrell on not once but twice.
Twice, yeah. Wow, was that an experience?
Well,
Did you catch that one, James?
Yeah, I did. But I was going to comment on Mike Yen. The one thing I love about Mike Yen is he will tell you the same thing in person that he tells his colleagues. You know where Mike stands, which automatically makes me respect him. He doesn't play the game necessarily.
No, I was at a campaign event in Jackson, and I'd gone there for a different reason. It just so happened that this event was going on. So I'm mingling with everybody, and I start talking to this guy who is clearly a crossover voter. In fact, he admitted it. And he said, well, I don't see any problem with it, with being registered as a Republican but believing otherwise. And I said, well, first of all, it's pretty inconsistent with your own beliefs. Why would you be a member of an organization that you don't agree with what they stand for? I wouldn't do that. There's no way you'd get me to join the Democrat Party. And I was carrying on the conversation. What I didn't know is that Mike Yin had walked up behind me, and not behind me, but to the side. And I just hadn't noticed him yet. And I said, the biggest problem is that people lack honesty. That we have these folks that run for office, and they stand on our doorstep, and they tell us things like, abortion is bad. I have a closet full of guns. Taxes are too high. I'm conservative. You should vote for me. And then we do. But then they go to Cheyenne and do exactly the opposite from what they told us.
Right.
And so Mike pops up, and he says, it would take a lot for him to pop up very far because he's kind of a short guy. But he says, David, I believe the word you're looking for is integrity.
Exactly.
And I said, you know what, Mike? You are exactly right. You are definitely what you say you are. And, he's still a Democrat.
Exactly.
But at least he's honest about who he is, which is way more than I can say for a lot of other people, including many that live here in the county. All right.
Yeah, there are a lot of shadow games.
Yeah. So did you guys see that gas prices are down? Did you notice that?
Yeah, but are they down here in Sheridan?
A little bit, a little bit. I mean, we're not talking Johnson
No,
County, which this is odd. Usually gas prices in Hazard County are way higher than they are here. But yeah, they are down. And there's this piece on Breitbart this morning, and it's called The Trump Effect. Christmas Day gas prices are expected to drop to the lowest level in 5 years, which that makes sense because, Sleepy Joe is no longer the president. But here's what it says, and then we'll talk about it. President Donald Trump's energy prices are delivering what is expected to be the lowest national average on Christmas Day for Americans since 2020, his last full year in office. Gas Buddy projects on Christmas Day that the average gas price nationally will be $2.79. It's actually in the 260s here in Sheridan, down from $2.95 a gallon last year under Sleepy Joe. Quote, thanks to President Trump, gas prices have hit a 5-year low, and Christmas Day gas prices are projected to fall to the lowest level since 2020. Per Gas Buddy, Americans are set to save over $500 million during the Christmas week compared to last year. Americans saw gas prices rocket rapidly under Biden. They went from $2.26 all the way up to $3.26 in a matter of months. So the question is, and everybody looks at gas prices and says, well, that's an indicator of where the economy's at.
Right.
Is that correct? Is it are people off their rockers? Should we be paying attention to something else? What do we think?
I don't know. I don't think that gas prices are the overall measure of where the economy is in general, especially nationally. I think we're dealing with too many foreign interests. I think we're dealing with way too many things that the average person just does not think about. Grocery prices would be more of an indicator for me.
Sure.
Because that's more of the absolutely everyday thing. But I guess I'm kind of iffy on whether that makes the big difference.
What do you think, Ken?
Well, one of the numbers everybody goes to is employment numbers, and quite frankly, over the last couple of months, they don't look too great. But I've got to wonder about a number of factors, like you said, James. There are a lot of things that go into that. There are a lot of people going home, and that. Look at how benevolent Trump is. He's sending a whole bunch of people home to live with their families.
I know, to spend the holidays.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to be home
Hopefully more
at
than
Christmas. You know, it's interesting you bring up the whole job growth thing, 29, because I've got a piece here. This one's also from Breitbart, but it says all net job growth going to Americans as foreign-born employment keeps declining. Let me just read a couple paragraphs. And all net job growth is going to native-born Americans as foreign-born employment continues to decline. A new jobs report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics revealed yesterday. The jobs report showed that for another consecutive month, native-born Americans have gained jobs while foreign-born workers are continuing to fall out of the workforce because they're being sent home for the holidays. Under the Biden administration, most job growth came from government jobs and foreign labor. Now, with President Trump at the helm, every single job created has been the private sector for native-born Americans. So it doesn't exactly say... Oh, here we go. Economist E.J. Antoni pointed out that the number of native-born Americans with jobs is up 2.6 million over the last 12 months. So over the last year, jobs have actually gone up, according to this piece.
It said native are getting jobs, but then there are
yes, only on the reservations
who are walking out of those jobs. The article that I read, one or two of them, just said for a net loss. But that's got to be a temporary thing because somewhere they've got to replace them. But there are a lot of factors that go into it. A lot of things happening right now.
Well, so the question is, how do we increase the amount of jobs that are available? You know, I mean, there's somewhere in the stack, I've got a couple pieces about, you know, whether or not it's the government's job to create new positions or new opportunities. Is it the government's job, James?
Absolutely not. You know, our nation is founded on the principles of capitalism. It's not the government's job to provide us work, to provide us health care, to provide us any other necessity. They are here for the welfare of the people
Easy.
and the protection
Easy
of the
now.
people. I'm
Easy.
sorry.
You're going to get
Yeah,
in big trouble.
I
You're going to
know.
get your name in all the papers. You keep that up.
Oh, wait. Oh, that's happened. Not as much as you, though, Ken.
It's true. It's true. Ken is very popular in the media.
Yeah, you are. But no, it's absolutely not the government's position. You know, we wouldn't be here if it was the government's job to
Definitely not.
give us work. However, saying that, I do want to balance that with what President Trump has done since he came into office, as he recognized how poor the economy was doing because we had such a lack of jobs, industry, so much industry has been taken over to foreign countries, and now he even has countries like Japan building factories here.
Yeah, that's
To provide jobs for people, but it's still not government owned. It's him brokering the deal to bring in private industry that will help support American households.
well. Now, Josh Durrell would claim that that's what he does. That all he does is he brokers the deal and brings those folks in. Okay. I mean, why is he wrong? I mean, is that not the same thing?
Well,
that
for
you just
one
said?
thing, everybody brings in is addicted to government money,
No.
and
Oopsie.
that's a problem.
That's a big.
You told me I had to be careful. Hold on now, Ken.
I've never been known to be careful.
No,
Okay,
Careful
all right.
left the building a long time ago, like when he started being my producer.
Yeah, he wouldn't be Agent 29 otherwise. Right?
No,
So-
no. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some local stuff that's happening here in Sheridan, about a county commissioner who should keep his mouth shut. Back in a minute. I know. The weather seems to be toying with us. 60 one day, 42 the next, and pretty soon, my friends, those 6s and 4s are going to turn into 3s and 2s. Though we all want to avoid it, that white stuff is coming, my friends, and you will be shoveling the walk in it. It's cold, it's unpleasant, and nobody likes to do it. But you could make it just a little bit more comfortable and prevent your feet from turning into a giant block of ice. In fact, you could keep them nice and warm and toasty, and your toes will never even know that they're outside. The rest of you may be frozen solid, but at least your feet won't be. To make all this happen, you just need a pair of socks from the Buffalo Wool Company. They are the finest socks that I've ever put on my feet. To get you a pair, go to their website, thebuffalowoolco.com. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Are you one of those guys that listen to the president just a little bit too closely and now you're tired of winning? Are you getting the feeling that there's been way too many good things happening in our country and you just can't take it anymore? Well, if you are, and you think you should follow Rosie O'Donnell's example and get the heck out of Dodge, you need to call Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. She'll make those foreign country living ideas a reality for you. All you have to do is call 307-699-3519, and she'll make sure some freedom-loving, red-blooded American will now live in the home that you no longer want. If you want to sell your house, or if you want to buy one that's way better than the house you have right now, give Rebecca a call. Again, her phone number is 307-699-3519.
I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day, don't you? Well, I can show you how. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. A new day, a new way. Watch out, I'm only gonna get stronger. I've never felt the freedom like I do. I feel stronger every day. I'm only gonna get stronger.
Cowboy state politics is only going to continue to expand. The truth is, I'm amazed with how fast this program is growing. Make sure that you sign up for the Outrider, the official newsletter of Cowboy State Politics. You can do that at the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, and don't miss any of the episodes of the show.
You're expanding faster than Christy Alley at Christmas time.
I'm expanding faster than Nick Siddle at a dining room table. Speaking of Nick Siddle and politicians who ought to keep their mouths shut, Nick is one of those. He is a Sheridan County Commissioner. And before I even begin this, Nick, you're welcome to come on the program. Not that I think that you will, because every single time I've asked you for a comment, you've not given me one. So it's interesting that you run to the politically favorable Sheridan media for all of your bullcrap that you want to spread around. So let me just set this up for you. Back in August, I ran a story about how Nick Siddle went to a joint transportation committee meeting and advocated to raise your taxes. He absolutely did. In fact, he wanted to jack up the gas tax about 20%. Now, of course, he's looking out for the citizens of Sheridan County. That's what he does as a Sheridan County Commissioner, is he represents all of the people. Well, if that were true, he wouldn't be advocating to raise your taxes. Well, he got called on it because it turns out he took a county vehicle, used the county gas card to pay for the gas, signed in at the legislative committee under the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, and told the committee that he was there as the chairman of the County Commissioners Association Transportation Committee.
The significance, of signing in is what?
It tells the legislature and everybody else who you are representing.
Who you are lobbying for.
Yes.
So he's using county monies to go lobby the legislature.
He absolutely is. All right, so let's begin with what he said back in August. Now, I've got a piece of video for you here when he was in front of the county commission and he tells everybody what he's going to be doing for the weekend, as if anybody really gives a crap what his weekend plans are. He already goes hunting on property that nobody else really knows that they can hunt on. But anyway, he tells the county commission that he's going to go to Casper. Ken, go ahead and play the video. It's August 18th SCC meeting.
Just that we already got a couple items for public posting. Yes, if anybody has anything pressing they'd like us to put on public post Thursday, we have that available. And I will be out tomorrow to go to the State Joint Legislative Transportation Committee meeting in Casper. That's looking at our agenda for tomorrow. As long as we have a quorum, it looks like we'll be fine. So I will be going to Casper for an exciting, fun-filled day of listening to legislation.
Okay, two things here. He doesn't say that he's going to Casper to represent the interests of the county. He doesn't say that he's going there to tell the committee, the transportation committee, what Sheridan residents think. Sheridan citizens, rather. Nope, he doesn't say any of that. In fact, what he does say is that he's going to, quote, listen to the committee. He doesn't say he's going to testify. He doesn't say who he's testifying on behalf of. Well, the truth is, he went to the legislature and drove a county vehicle using county gas to lobby for the Wyoming County Commissioners Association. So the question is, does a county commissioner represent people everywhere that they go? You are a county, Ken, you are an elected representative. Are you representing your constituents everywhere you go?
I'd like to hope so.
Okay, all right.
But
so
the
maybe,
truth is, for example, if I go to church, I'm not playing that game there.
right. Now, here's my question. I want to know if Nick Siddle was representing the Sheridan County citizens when he was drunk at the bar at the Blacktooth Brewery. I'd love to know if he was representing me in his full capacity there, or if he was representing me when he was advocating for jacking up my taxes at the legislature. Now, here is what he said in front of the legislature. Now, I want you to pay attention to a couple of things here. First, I want you to listen for if he ever said what Sheridan County citizens want. And I also want you to pay attention to who he says he's representing. Play the video, Siddle at the legislature.
Thank you. I'm Nick Siddle. I'm the chairman of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association Transportation Committee, and I'm from Sheridan. One thing I've heard a whole lot of talk about why dot this and why dot that during this discussion, and I just want to make certain that you understand that there is a formula. They showed the formula up there earlier, and out of that approximately $35 million per year that would be received by the nickel tax, YDOT said 22.5 million would go to them. 5.7 million would also go to counties, 2.2 million to the county road fund, 3.3 million to the cities, and then 638,000 to the state parks, and that's just an approximation based on your current formula. But I would remind you that there are hundreds and hundreds of miles more of county roads and city streets than there are state highways. And so I just want to remind you of that this also helps, certainly doesn't bail out. 5.7 million spread across all the counties in Wyoming doesn't do a heck of a lot of good, but it's there for the asking. And you know, for example, Sheridan County, we have a fairly small budget. Our budget is around $22 million a year. We were just looking at paving some roads. It costs $2 million a mile to pave a county road. When you've got a $22 million budget in your county, I can guarantee you how many roads get paved, and that'd be zero, because you just don't have the money. But helping, anything we can do to help. I realize I think you're on an uphill battle. I'm a member of the Farm Bureau too, by the way, but you're welcome, Brett. Yeah. But I mean, I think you've got an uphill battle. I know some of my legislators, and I know that you're going to have an uphill battle to get anything that has the word tax through. But I do think that this is something to get a foot in the door and get started. So
all right.
Anyway,
all right. That's enough of that. By the way, Nick Siddle, you should get used to hearing the word no Anyway, here is the sign-in sheet from that committee meeting where you can see that Nick Siddle signed in for the Wyoming County Commissioners Association. Whoopsie daisy. It doesn't say Sheridan County on there. It doesn't say Sheridan County Commission. It says WCCA.
Now, he is chairman of that organization, but they do have Jeremiah Ryman. And
Yes.
it's his responsibility to do this lobbying. Now, perhaps, out of fairness, perhaps Jeremiah wasn't available that day and they made some agreement. I don't
Maybe.
know. But,
Yeah.
and he's absolutely right about one thing.
What is that?
Some of the legislators from Sheridan County ain't going to fall for that.
No. There's not going to be any falling for increasing taxes. So it's very clear from the video who he's advocating for, who he's lobbying on behalf of. It's very clear that, I didn't hear one time in there where he says Sheridan County residents want you to jack up the tax rates. He doesn't say that. Now, he does refer to Sheridan County, but it's clear from the video that he's not there on my behalf or Ken's behalf or Chairman Temple's behalf. Nuh-uh. Nope. None of that crap.
Just as another aside, why is it assumed that a paved road is better than a gravel road?
Yeah,
I
don't
can give
know.
you a lot of arguments for the latter.
I don't slip and slide too much on a gravel road like you do on a sheet
Well,
of
you
ice.
slow down,
Well, yeah, that too.
and there's a point to that, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's just certain assumptions, and one of those assumptions that really irritates me is the more growth, the better.
Yes.
We've got to have growth.
Well, and maybe that's a topic for another time. But I think you're right, Ken. We make awful lot of assumptions. And one of the assumptions that Nick Siddle made is that nobody was going to go back and put all of this together. But one Sheridan County resident did, and it's my pal named Harry. And so Harry says, I think this is wrong. It's very clear that Nick Siddle was lobbying on behalf of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association. And so he exercised a couple of his First Amendment rights. Usually when we talk about the First Amendment, we think about your freedom of speech, which that's absolutely true. There's one of them. But the last one that's mentioned in the First Amendment is to petition your government for a redress of grievances. That is, when you're a citizen and you think that your government has done something wrong, you have a right to go in front of them and say, look here, pal, I think you were way out of line, which is exactly what our friend Harry did. Here is exactly what Harry said in front of the Sheridan County Commission. Play it.
All right, good morning. My name is Harry Pollock, resident of Sheridan. And, one of the things that I've been doing since I've been here in Sheridan a little over 4 years now is holding electeds accountable.
Okay, so pause it just for a second.
This issue particularly is one that I'm sure.
I know you hate it when I do that. But I forgot to mention something. So if you know Harry, he is very straightforward. If you don't know him, you might think that on occasion he's being rude. He's not. Okay, he's just a very straightforward person. It's just Harry, right? Yeah. It's very black and white. And but if you knew him and you're watching this video, you would absolutely know that he's being very, very gracious, that he's being very nice. So let's go ahead and play this. Go ahead and hit play again, Ken, and we'll listen to the rest of it.
It was an oversight. I don't think there was any malice or intent here, but I just wanted to bring it up to your attention that, on the 18th of August, Commissioner Siddle was going to go down to Casper for a joint committee meeting. What wasn't said was that he was going to be going down there as a representative for WCCA, Wyoming
Which he
County
did.
Commissioners Association, at which he then lobbied against taxpayers for a 10-cent fuel increase. The issue that really is concerning me anyway is that funds were used. The tax or the fuel WEX card of $41 and some odd cents, and then the use of the county vehicle, the Jeep Wagoneer. And so I think just for transparency's sake and for keeping things clean, that since Commissioner Siddle didn't go down there representing the county, he was representing a association or lobbyist, then those funds should be reimbursed. So it's about 300 miles to Casper. at 70
Round
cents a
trip is
mile.
what he meant.
And then, of course, the $41.71 for the fuel, we're looking at about $251 that should be reimbursed to the county for, towards taxpayers. And I just want to close with a quote from John Adams, that government is instituted for the common good, not for profit, honor, or private interest of any one man, family, or class of men. And basically, Adams was advocating that the government needed a system of checks and balances to prevent tyranny for the common good. The latter part of the quote argued against corruption. And, I don't want that to be confused that, like I said, I don't think, Commissioner Siddle intentionally did anything wrong. I just wanted to bring it to the attention and get the matter corrected. So with that, thank you.
Okay. All right. So a couple of questions here. We all know Harry. Was he in any way being offensive? Was he being mean? Was he being derogatory? I mean,
No, absolutely not.
No.
I mean, he was so calm and respectful, and the Harry I know from 4 years ago, that's different approach.
Yeah. And I mean, he very clearly says, I don't really think that there was any sort of corruption here. I don't think that he meant to do anything wrong. And I mean, he says that a couple of times. And so I don't see that you could take those comments to mean anything other than, hey, I think there was something wrong here. Let's get it corrected. Ken, what do you think?
He mentioned the word tyranny, and some people are going to listen to that and think that's kind of over the top. We're talking tyranny. He went down, but that's how it starts.
Yes.
It creeps. There is a lack of, I would call it complete openness. The fact that he said he went down there and lobbied against the taxpayer,
Which he did.
in my view, is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But that's how these things start. And for so many years, people have been able to get away with it. There's been a lack of transparency, especially at the county commissioner level, but all over government. And the more that we bring transparency to light, the more issues are brought up and the more divisive we are said to be. And the less a lot of people say, you guys just don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, if by you know what you're doing, you're going to do things the way things have always been done. No, we're not going to do it that way. And so that is perceived as we don't know what we're doing. We know exactly what we're doing. There was another comment made not too long ago about how myself and those of my ilk are going to destroy this county. We're going to try to destroy what they had going on for a long time. Absolutely.
Yeah, and rightfully so. All right, so back to Harry. Now, the word that is going to be used in Nick Siddle's response is vilify. Did our friend Harry vilify Nick Siddle in any way?
No.
No, right? I mean, there's no way that you can look at his comments and draw that conclusion. Okay, so Harry got up in front of the county commission on December 2nd. Today is December 17th, so a little bit more than 2 weeks ago. Now, it was just yesterday that Sheridan Media, or I guess, I think it was Sheridan Media, they wrote an article how a citizen, confronts the county commission. I don't remember the exact phraseology that they used, but there was an article about what Harry said. And Nick Siddle decided to respond. Now, before we play this soundbite, a couple of things. First, I personally think there is something wrong with this recording. Let me explain. It's very clear when you listen to it, and okay, I shouldn't say very clear. To me, it's very clear that there are two things happening with it. There is some weird background noise that's happening. I think what happened is it was a voicemail that was played over a microphone, because you hear some, it sounds like somebody's moving their fingers on a microphone. It kind of sounds like this. Something like that. Second thing, I think the recording has been edited. And if you listen to the phraseology that Nick Siddle uses, there's some awkward transitions. And I think what may have happened is that parts of whatever was in there got deleted. There he is. Commissioner Nick Siddle responds to comments. So now let's play for you the Nick Siddle's response. This one infuriates me. Play it.
Recently, a news story was published on Sheridan Media and their website titled Citizen Speaks to Sheridan Commissioners on Holding Electeds Accountable. The reference made in the article and the recorded reference from the December 2nd Sheridan County Commission meeting state that Commissioner Siddle went to the Joint Transportation Committee meeting representing the Wyoming County Commissioners Association and as such was not representing Sheridan County, therefore should not have driven Sheridan County Transportation to the meeting. I am County Commissioner representing Sheridan County, Nick Siddle. I have served Sheridan County for 7 years and serve on the Wyoming County Commissioners Association Board of Directors and serve as the association's Transportation and Veteran Affairs Chairman, representing Sheridan County. Obviously, one cannot belong to or represent WCCA without first being a locally elected county commissioner, and I am proud to have been included in a position of leadership, which I hope Sheridan County constituents would support, not vilify. When asked to testify at the meeting, I began by stating that I didn't think an increase in fuel tax had much chance of passing in our current legislature. While most discussion had centered around YDOT's budget shortfall, I reminded legislators that the formula does allocate money to counties, municipalities, and the state park system for transportation infrastructure, which is sorely lacking. Rather than attack me for attending and testifying at the meeting, I would hope that our local constituents would spend their efforts in working on helpful ideas rather than tear down those who research and try to help solve problems. Thank you.
Attacking. Was there anything that Harry said that attacked Nick Siddle?
No. And let me add this too, David,
Go
because
ahead.
I have sat in so many county commission meetings in 23 and 24 where I had to be there for staff meetings on Mondays and then the every other Tuesday meetings. Harry's come in quite a bit for different things on and off. He's never been disrespectful. He's just direct. And the thing is they don't like somebody that will just come out and lay it all out there.
They don't like being questioned.
Exactly. That's the issue.
And so to say that a citizen, one of your constituents, is vilifying you. I mean, there is no vilifying that's happening here. You're being called on the carpet for something you did was wrong.
Nobody called him a slanderer.
Nobody called him a slanderer like they called James. He didn't vilify him. He didn't attack him. None of that. And so, Nick Siddle, you did wrong. And what you should do is apologize and cut a check for $241 and just be done with it. But instead, you go to the media and attack your constituent, which is what you did. The only attacking that's happening here, the only vilifying that's happening here is what you're doing to one of your constituents. How dare you? How dare you? I mean, I am incensed that you would say that to the media. Now, if you'd like to talk about attacks, here's one for you, Nick Siddle. So the Wyoming County Commissioners Association is headed by this gal named Natalia Macker. Notice I didn't call her a lady. Natalia Macker is a Democrat county commissioner from Jackson, from Teton County. Now, when she was elected, she was the only person nominated. Now, think about this. There are very, very few Democrat county commissioners in the state of Wyoming. I think there may only be 4 of them, maybe 5 of them. I don't know. It's a very, very small number. So you have a room packed with county commissioners who ostensibly are all part of the County Commissioners Association, and they're electing leadership. Now, wouldn't you think, let's ask our GOP chairman. Chairman Temple, don't you think that a Republican ought to nominate a Republican to lead an organization?
It would make sense if you actually believe in the platform that we stand on.
Oh, yeah. So can you imagine a scenario where one solid Republican, good conservative Republican would nominate a Democrat?
No,
that just wouldn't happen, right?
No, it just doesn't make sense.
But it did happen in the Wyoming County Commissioners Association meeting. There was only one person that was nominated, and that was Democrat Natalia Macker from Teton County. Now, Nick Siddle, if you call yourself a Republican, which you do, by the way, you, as far as I know, been a Republican for a really long time, and yet you don't nominate another Republican to lead an organization that you admittedly are very, very, very proud to be in leadership. Doesn't that kind of mean that you're not a Republican? Not really one anyway. Maybe a redcoat. Yeah, that term kind of fits. That you act like a Democrat, you vote for a Democrat, which kind of means you're a Democrat. If it looks like a donkey and votes like a donkey, it's a donkey. There you go, Nick. You may have one of those running around your property. Now, let me just show you a picture of Ms. Natalia Macker, the Democrat from Jackson. I'm sure everybody was just going to be love to see this. Show it. Not him. He's a Republican. There we go. So on the right there is the Democrat county commissioner from Jackson. That is Natalia Macker. And on the left is Gretchen Whitmer, the Democrat governor of Michigan. And look at all the smiles. They are so happy to be together.
I love the Harris waltz.
Yeah. Isn't that great? Now, Nick Siddle, obviously, you were in favor of Natalia Macker being the president of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, and evidently you're in favor of her association with Gretchen Whitmer, which kind of means that you act just like a Democrat. Let me give you one more if you're interested in somebody going after you. On cowboystatepolitics.com, on the show content page, you'll find a list of, and let me just pull these up here real quick. You'll find a list of all of the bills from last session. Oh, there's the pop-up for the Outrider. Anyway, here, I can show you again. Hold on. See, I'm getting too excited.
Are you sure?
I'm sure
you can drive this thing.
I can. Here we go. All right, so here's the website. There it is. The pop-up for the Outrider. You should sign up for that. But if we go to the show notes page, here is, why is it not? There we go. All right. So if we pulled up this file, here's a list of all of the bills that the Wyoming County Commissioners Association opposed or supported. And how many of those do you suppose are about taxes?
I can tell you from my perspective, they send us that list all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that, well, not entirely the case. I go down that list, and my votes are almost exactly the opposite.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't actually list the word tax.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome for that. But anyway, I encourage you to go through and look at this one. And you'll find all sorts of things that, as a conservative legislator, you would be in favor of or totally against. One of those being taxes. And I encourage you to go look through this list. Obviously, I got handed this list by somebody. I get a lot of documents handed to me. A lot of them related to things that a county commissioner would be involved in. So, Republican County Commissioner Nick Siddle, you, sir, owe the citizens of Sheridan County an apology. You, sir, owe us $241, and we'll take a check tomorrow. If you want, I'll come and take a picture of it so that we have documentation that you actually wrote it. And you, sir, need to stop attacking your constituents.
Now, while we're at it, can we get them to paint some lines on the roads?
I would love that. It costs so much money to pave a road. This guy just infuriates me. I just, you
don't have to stripe a gravel road.
That's true. We don't have to stripe gravel roads. All right, let's go ahead and take our second break. And when we come back, we'll continue with the program. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Hunting season. Right about now, you're off with all of your pals, stalking the big gigantic elk or buck mule deer that you've been thinking about all summer long. And your lovely wife is at home, probably enjoying her time without you. But soon, my friend, all of that is going to come to a screeching halt. And I want you to think about just one little thing. She's able to park her car inside the garage because all of your hunting crap is with you right now. Now, if you'd like the marital bliss to continue, I suggest you make a call to Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. They can build you a garage or a barn or any other type of metal structure for you to store all of your toys in so that your wife can continue parking inside the garage. And you can avoid sleeping on the couch for the next month or two. Call Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. Get them to build you a metal building before it's too late. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live. I'm David Iverson, documented to be almost always right 99% of the time. A record that Nick Siddle or the Wyoming media can't come anywhere close to. Welcome back to the show. We're joined today by Sheridan GOP Chairman James Temple. Appreciate you coming on the program and sitting through this for 2 whole hours. Holy crap.
The conversation. So
loving it. All right, great. So before the break, went through a long discussion of what Commissioner Nick Siddle has been up to, actually attacking his own constituents. It's incredible that an elected official would claim that just being held accountable is an attack. But that's where we're at because a lot of your elected officials, they think they're entitled to their position.
Wonder if he's a cousin to Steve Harshman.
He might be. It's entirely possible. All right. So, and just to round out that whole conversation, Nick, if you want to come on the program and defend yourself, you are more than welcome to. There's been way more, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, way more Democrat people than you that have come on the show, and we've had an entirely pleasant time. So, if you want to do that, give us a ring, and you are more than welcome to sit in the hot seat. So let's talk about taxes, gentlemen. We're all Republicans, way more than Nick Siddle, and so we ought to have a pretty good handle on taxes. Now, there's an interesting piece in the Turkey Vulture this morning. It's a letter to the editor, and it's entitled "What if we wipe the state clean and the slate, not state, wipe the slate clean and completely start over on taxes?" Here's what he says. Quote, "I'm sure we can all agree that there are some issues with both sales taxes and property taxes. One common issue is that they are both driven by market values. And when these values increase, in parentheses, it says, do they ever decrease? Good point. That said, they may have their place. I brought up this idea once before, but given all of the other letters to the editor on property taxes, I thought I should give it another go. What if we took the time to rebuild our taxes from the ground up? To get started, we would just wipe the slate clean. No taxes, no fees, no other governmental charges. And now let us take a moment and enjoy this. Wasn't that pleasant? Now, if we rebuild our tax and fee structure, we start by looking at fees and completely fund government services. An easy example would be driver's licenses. And he goes on to mention a couple other things. But
okay,
interesting idea.
Hang on a sec.
All right.
If the government imposes a fee.
It is a tax.
I pushed the wrong button. It sounds like Senator Pappas.
Could be.
Let's not call it a tax. Let's call it a fee. Mm-hmm. You know, if you want to have an honest discussion, let's start with an honest discussion and call a spade a spade.
Okay, yes, all fees are taxes. Now, there are some people in the legislature, even some conservatives, that, and I can't believe they make this bizarre argument, but that a fee is not a tax. Anytime the government takes money from you, it's a tax, period. But what do we think about this guy's idea that we just wipe the slate clean, start from ground zero, and just go from there? What do you think?
I don't know. I think of the old adage of, I hit a pothole in a road that I pay taxes to have and repair. I damaged my vehicle that I pay taxes on. I then drove that vehicle to the gas station and got gas, which I pay taxes on, in order to go home to a house that I pay taxes on. I mean, hitting the reset button sounds good in theory, but I think we need to go a lot deeper than that, and we need to come up with a structure that provides for the things that we absolutely need and discards the nonsense that they're spending our money on. I rent my house. Even though I own my house, I rent my house from the government of Sheridan County every year.
Yes.
And my car. And everything else I own, ATVs, any of that stuff, I basically rent it because if I don't pay the tax on the house, they can come and take it. Absolutely ludicrous that that's even in existence. And I remember telling my wife when we had moved here years ago, there came a time after COVID where you started seeing foreclosures in Sheridan County gradually and quietly, and estate sales and things of that nature. That would not happen if you didn't have property taxes because it's all on unpaid taxes.
What do you think, Ken?
A couple of things there. We mentioned this yesterday. What drives taxation is spending. So there's the real issue. And I suspect that whoever wrote this, I don't know who it was, has not been paying any attention to the Revenue Committee this
Probably
interim.
not.
They have worked from a half dozen different angles. What do we do about taxes? And I think the discussions have been very informative. They've been very worthwhile. But go back to the first thing. And James, you alluded to this. What are we spending our money on? If we weren't spending money on a lot of dumb stuff, $300 million or $3 million flower pot.
Yeah,
That
Dick
keeps
Siddle
coming
voted
up
for
in
that
my
one
mind,
too.
Yeah. We'd have a lot left over to do the things we should be doing.
Yeah, but I think that he brings up a point. Of course, it's all academic because we know that that's never going to happen. But I think a very clear example of the problem that he's illustrating are property taxes that we know. And I guess unless your name is Ogden Driscoll, we know that everybody's property taxes are pretty much going up. Shouldn't say everybody, the majority of people are going up exponentially. At least they have been for the last few years.
Right.
And we have passed numerous pieces of legislation to alleviate some of that tax burden. Now there's a 4% cap, there's a 25% reduction, right. There's exemptions here, exemptions there. And it seems to me, Ken, that the more we do, we're just kind of over-ticking the plumbing. That, yeah, I mean, anytime we can give somebody a tax break, we should do that. But we're kind of creating this giant Rube Goldberg machine that you don't know what exemption you pay for, that you're entitled to, and which one you're not. And it seems to me that if we could take, I guess, let me give you an analogy. When you have no idea what you're spending money on, and you sit down to craft a budget, the very first thing you should do is stop the spending,
right,
and figure out what you have to spend money on, what you need to spend money on, what you may want to spend money on, and then whatever luxuries. But we got to start from zero, and go from there. I mean, obviously we're talking about an academic point here, but I think that he's using it to illustrate how convoluted our tax structure has become.
Yeah, we had that discussion about zero-based budgeting, and there are actually some agencies that we've spoken to that are willing to start looking at that.
Wow.
Rather than simply going, as some would allude, doesn't happen in Wyoming, but this is how we do it. Rather than starting with what you spent last time, what do you need in addition to that,
right,
and go from there. We're actually beginning to, I think, make some small headroads into, no, let's go back to what is it that is essential? What is it that you have to do? What does that cost to do, and to do well? And then quit paying for the other stuff.
Interestingly enough, the last person I think that ran a bill on zero-based budgeting, and I can't believe I'm about to give him an attaboy, but it was Eric Barlow.
Really?
Yep. He was the last person to bring a bill to just put everything on cash-based budgeting. We don't do that right now, by the way.
It's actually interesting. There are several people that you wouldn't expect that are really looking at this. So we may have some victories.
Yeah, and right now, the way that we spend money is not on we look at how much money we got in the bank and then we spend. What we're doing effectively is buying the Mercedes because we think we're going to get a raise. That's
Yeah,
really
exactly.
how we do it.
And that's been the basis of budgeting in most states when it comes to any kind of budgeting of if we don't spend it, we're not going to get more to do what we want to do the next year. So we've got to find somewhere to spend it. And it's just a complete abuse of the tax system as it is.
Yeah, and add on top of it that the way that we craft budgets is not, hey, here are the things that we need. How can we pay for them? It's what did you spend money on last year? Okay, start with that number. What would it cost today to do it? And then we add on top of it all the other things that we want to do. And this is the very thing that you were fighting the last 2 weeks on, Ken, that these agencies would come before you and say, all right, to do everything we did last year, which there's no discussion as to whether or not those things are needed. It's just here's whatever we spent our money on last year. Let's do that same thing again, and then let's add on top of it. And what you end up with is, like the University of Wyoming adding $50 million on top of the $440 they already have.
We were asked to add $500 for a copy of Word Perfect because somebody would rather work in that than
Word Perfect. They probably had to rewrite the program for that one
I
person.
wanted to know if they needed a copy of Harvard Graphics to go with it.
Yeah, and maybe you could give them an abacus. I mean, it sounds to me like that's their technology level.
Well, one of these days we're going to have that discussion about what the state spends on computers, monitors, softwares. It's actually got an entirely different book now in the budget, and it's about that thick.
Give me a ballpark of what we spend on it.
$5,280,000.
That's pretty
But
accurate
that's only
ballpark.
that's only what's tracked right there. There are other things that fall outside of that. But sometime we'll have that discussion.
Yeah, and I think the point here is that we don't have any conception of what we actually need to spend money on. And this is true at the state level. It's true at the county level. In the video that we played from Nick Siddle, he says the budget's $22 million. It's not in Sheridan. It's north of 25, and it has ballooned the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And if you can spend $3 million, and this is still wonderfully ironic to me, that if you can use around $750,000 of money that was meant to improve roads, maintenance and roads, and spend that to remove a road, I find that wonderful. And then put in its place a gigantic flower pot. You, my friend, have too much money, and you're taking too much from people.
With heated sidewalks.
I was getting ready to say that, but it's got heated sidewalks.
But
there.
I mean,
hey,
clearly we have to have it. Heated sidewalks. Give me a break. Oh. So here's another one for you. And this morning, I often tell you that news comes in, kind of comes in waves. And you might have one day where you're just searching for stuff to talk about in the program, and it's really, really kind of laborious. Then there are other days like today where everything just kind of falls in your lap. Here's another letter to the editor. This one is entitled, Legislators Don't Have a Clue About Health Care, Except to Cut It. And this one's in the Cowboy. And I quote, Dear Editor, the so-called Healthcare Doge Committee chairman, Representative Ken Pendergraft, is a Freedom Caucus leader ill-equipped for the job. He clearly doesn't understand healthcare issues or how a budget works. Trying to understand complicated. And Ken, before I begin, would you like my duct tape?
No, I hear this all the time. I'm quite used to it. But it's really interesting because there are some blanket accusations there without ever, this is what they always do, has no idea what he's doing, doesn't understand a budget. Okay, cite for me some examples. Why do you come to that conclusion? They never do that.
Right. And why is, and good question for our panel here. Why is a budget that, I don't know, for a school, why is that budget any different than a budget for a hospital? I mean, is there any difference? I mean, it's just line item versus line item, right? It's just this is how much money you got, this is how much money you can spend. Are different budgets to be handled differently?
I guess it would depend on what the main objective of your organization is. I mean, your budget for your hospital should absolutely include most up-to-date equipment and things for healthcare
Sure.
that your community needs.
But it works the same way,
But
though.
it works the same way. But I can't say that it does, because then you look at the mess we have with the schools and taxation and the abuse of money there.
Sure.
I see that more so in the schools in Wyoming than I do in the medical industry. So
But I think the fundamentals
Oh,
of
that's
budgeting.
because you haven't looked at the medical industry yet.
I don't want to, Ken. I'm scared.
Now, what is more complicated about the budget for the Department of Health is the gigantic spider web that it is. That there are so many things that are interconnected that it's pretty hard to pull on one string and not affect something else. And I can guarantee you, hold on here. Let's find the name of Ms. Bonnie Bath.
I can give you a couple of specific examples of what you're talking about. I call it, it's like playing Jenga with that's booby trapped.
Yeah.
You look at one particular program, for example, is meant for older Americans. That's how it's phrased. There's no definition for the poor, but there's no definition of that. And by federal law, it is not able to be means tested.
Yes.
So completely meaningless.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of booby traps in this giant Gordian knot. All right, so here's what the op-ed says. Trying to understand complicated public health issues in a short series of meetings is like me trying to learn quantum physics in a day. But that's exactly what the Joint Appropriations Committee did when it appointed 3 legislators with no healthcare backgrounds to try and cut funding from the Wyoming Department of Health's budget.
Wait a second.
Okay.
With no background. She doesn't know a blankety blank thing about the backgrounds of the people on that.
No.
She could not cite that. She's just simply spouting words.
Clearly. With no healthcare background to try to cut funding from the Wyoming Department of Health's budget through a so-called DOGE budget subcommittee. Many people across Wyoming are struggling to afford health care, including pregnant women, seniors, people with disabilities, blah, 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 blah. So she has the problem all wrong. The question that we should be asking, my friends, is why is this the job of government? Please show me in the state constitution, in the federal constitution, please show me where it is the job of government to provide your health care. You won't find a place because it's not the role of government. And until you understand that, you won't understand what the point in having said DOGE committee is. The point of the committee is, how could we provide some of the services that we have that, arguably people enjoy, and yet get government back in the box? That's the point. One of the reasons why the Department of Health has gotten so big is because it's not the proper role of government. And since we let the proverbial camel's nose under the tent, it's ballooned to such a size that it's really unmanageable. She continues, this is the time to make an investment in our healthcare system. No, it's not. It's the time to reduce government's role in your personal life. You know whose job it is to take care of your healthcare? Yours, Bonnie Bath. It's not mine. My job is to take care of my own stuff.
That brings up a point that I have to jump on.
Go right.
I've said this many times. Whenever you cede responsibility for your own welfare, you lose freedom. Now, look at the SNAP benefits. Many people have become dependent upon that, and so they don't take care of themselves. They don't even have a way to take care of themselves anymore. And whatever government gives you, it can take away. If you cede to it control of your health care, if you cede to it your ability to procure food, you are nothing but a victim.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to prevent. That's the things that I'm trying to understand is people, we need to, as Americans, we need to learn to stand up on our own again and take care of ourselves because the government can't do it. They're flipping broke.
Yes. Now, Ken, one question for you, and you and I have already had this conversation a couple of times in private, but there are things that are worthwhile in the Department of Health budget. DD waivers, for example. It serves all of our interests to be able to keep people in their homes for as long as possible. It costs a tremendous amount of money to put somebody in a nursing home. Many, many, many people go absolutely broke trying to do that. So if we can keep those folks in their house for a smaller expense than if we were to pay for the entirety of the expense living in a nursing home, it makes sense to do that. And we ought to. I mean, it's, I don't really have any problem helping out somebody that has absolutely no way to help themselves. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, if you pay taxes, I think to some degree you should be able to do that. But there has been an effort in your committee, Ken, to try to do that. Right? Explain what you're doing.
That's what started this. Is there was they pointed out there was a problem with DD waivers, which, as you explained, a waiver. Basically, the idea is that if you get yourself into a situation physically or whatever where you can't take yourself, or you just happen to be there, there is money to be able to put you into a nursing home or some other facility like that. Which, by the way, I worked in one as part of the management team for over 3 years. I know a little bit.
You don't have any experience.
I know a little bit about how healthcare works. I also know about how it can be abused. But we also had this experience with my sister-in-law, who lived with us for quite a while, who was on a waiver system. So I understand how it works. They had a long waiting list. They had people who were waiting 18 months to get in there. And then they had the providers that were not getting paid anywhere near a reasonable rate to go there. And they said, we need another $40 million to do this. And so my reaction was, you got a $3.2 billion budget. Let's go in there and see what we can find. Or, I don't remember I just probably misspoke the number. Multi-billion dollar budget. Let's go in there and see what you can find. And of course they came back, we can't find a thing.
Yeah.
And so we said, well, we'll do what we're supposed to do, because these are really policy decisions. And so part of the things that I found, for example, are that the Department of Health will pay for you, if you're a senior citizen, will pay for you to have an attorney to come draw up a will for you.
I think that's absolutely important.
How the hell is that the proper role of government?
It's not.
And yet it's a mandatory system. You can't get rid of it or you lose all your federal funding. One of those things that's in there. So, yeah, she's right in one thing. It was an awful lot to learn in a hurry. And we're not finished. We're going to probably carry this into the next interim. We'll probably expand the committee. We're going to add some people that understand a little bit more of it and see where we can go from here. But it was an introduction. It was a crash course. And I'm not an idiot, so despite what some people think. And I was able to learn and understand a lot more about it, and that's valuable.
Now, the essential problem here is that we allowed government to get involved in any of this in the first place.
Right.
I mean, this is not the proper role of government. Nowhere does it say that the government should be involved in your health care. But we kind of crossed that road. And I'm not saying that we should continue. I mean, when you're digging a hole and you wonder how to get out of it, the first thing you do is put down the shovel. If you're overweight and you want to, lose some weight, probably the first thing you should do is put down the spoon. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Right.
But we do have programs that we've started. And one of the problems with, a couple of years ago, there was a big thing let's do Medicaid expansion. Well, one of the big traps on that one is that if you give somebody an entitlement for their health care, you cannot take it away from them. And so, I mean, a really good argument why we shouldn't even go down that road. But we have. Now, she brings up a couple of points in the op-ed that I think are interesting, and they are created by allowing government to be involved from the very beginning. Here's what she says. Wyoming has a huge maternal health care desert where pregnant women do not have a facility for prenatal care or delivery within 30 miles. We also have a severe shortage of OBGYNs. 5 hospitals have closed maternity wards, leaving expectant mothers to drive more than 100 miles to deliver their babies. In bad weather conditions, some may have to have their babies on the side of the road. I can imagine the epidemic, all these pregnant women popping out kids on the pullout, the scenic pullout. We'll have a sign, have your babies here.
Every time that subject comes up, I go back to my grandparents. You talk about an OBGYN desert. That was Wyoming back in the 30s or even earlier. And they knew that risk when they came here. People don't move to Wyoming because there's going to be every service you can imagine right down the street.
Oh, but we should. We should have that, Ken, according to Bonnie Bath, anyway.
No, because then more Californians have moved in.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem. One of the reasons why you have these so-called maternity deserts, which I don't really know if I even buy this argument anyway, but one of the reasons you have them, if they do exist, is you have government involved because doctors can make more money elsewhere. When the person paying the bill has an unlimited checkbook, there's no reason why you wouldn't charge more, or you wouldn't move to another facility where you could make more money. The solution here, Bonnie Bath, is to get government out of the way, to end the involvement of government in our healthcare system. Let me ask you something. How great did the Affordable Care Act work out? Well, I don't know if you're a Democrat or a Republican, Ms. Bath, but I don't think that it's worked out that great. In fact, it's driven prices through the roof. The lovely Christine, we're trying to find insurance right now, and every single one of the programs or policies that she's found they're outrageously expensive. I mean, I don't know of anybody that can
They're
afford
about
it.
to get a lot worse.
But you know what? That's the solution, though. It's going to hurt. A lot of times, if you're a drunk and you want to get clean and sober, it really stinks hitting rock bottom and cleaning yourself up. It's not fun. Trust me, I was a professional drunk for a while. And getting sober sucks, but it's the very first and most important thing that you do. You get clean and sober, and then everything improves. The same thing holds true here with those subsidies, and just follow my logic here. The government is paying for all of these subsidies, all of these services, and so healthcare providers are jacking up prices because the person paying the bill has the unlimited checkbook. But if you cut that off, prices are going to go up in the short run. But they aren't going to be able to stay up that high for long because even healthcare providers have to make money. And if nobody is signing up for your service, you're going to have to lower prices so that people will. And that is the solution right there. You want to lower healthcare costs? Get the government to stop paying the bill.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about supply and demand and capitalism?
Oh, yeah,
David.
weird. Yeah,
I mean,
weird.
the fact that if we take the government out of it, then everybody has to compete with one another.
It works.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Well, and unless your name is Josh Durrell.
What kind of heresy is this?
Speaking of Josh, I think I challenged him, if I remember right, in committee. The government, he admitted that he claims that the free market is gone because it's been messed with so much. So government messed it up. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So the answer then is more government. We're going to turn to the very thing that screwed it up in the first place and say that's the answer. And you're absolutely right. It's going to hurt like hell.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. And so, but it is the solution. I mean, like I said, it's a lot like the drunk hitting rock bottom, man. Mm-hmm. The solution is to stop drinking the booze, stop spending money. And I guarantee you, if you let the free market operate, it will. I mean, it is an economic law. The supply and demand work. Supply side economics always work. Yeah. You just have to get government out of the way to do it. So I don't know that we're going to come to any sort of solution, an overall solution in the short run. But this is a good first step, is to get rid of those subsidies, and it will cause prices to go down. You end government involvement, it'll start fixing things. Well, let's go ahead and take our third break, and when we come back, we'll finish up the show. Back in a minute. Are you tired of all the meaningless political drivel floating around right now? Endless commentary that really doesn't have anything backing it up? Do you long for the days of true investigative journalism coming from an authoritative source who really doesn't care how popular and apparently good-looking a politician is? Fortunately for you, that's what I do on Cowboy State Politics. New episodes are published every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and you can get them anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest way is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There, you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles I might bring up during the course of the program. Cowboy State Politics Live, the program you're listening to right now, is broadcast every Tuesday through Friday, beginning at 8 a.m. Pay attention to all of that other block-headed nonsense if you want. Just make sure that you don't miss an episode of Cowboy State Politics. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a Wednesday. I'm your host, David Iverson, doing what I was born to do with talent given to me by God himself. Welcome back to the program. And, a lot of people come after me for that comment, but you should be very thankful for the gifts that you're given. And one of those that you are all beneficiaries of just about every single day, because I'm very thankful for the gift that God has given me, and thank you for watching the program. I wouldn't do what I do without you. So anyway, thanks for watching. Now, there has been a lot of shootings in the last couple of days, and I don't really.
It's hunting season, silly.
Well, it is hunting season. That's true. But I'm talking about Australia and Brown University and Charlie Kirk. We can throw him in there too. And I don't think that there's been, I don't think it's an epidemic, but there is a lot of them, and it is kind of concerning. And one of those, Brown University, I don't know. I've got a guest here that, James, you've got a law enforcement background, so maybe you could weigh in on this. But I was watching the news last night, and apparently we don't even have any leads on this guy. Is it normal in an investigation to go a few days without finding a suspect or having any leads?
Yeah, it is possible. What you really have to keep in balance and keep in mind when you're talking about any kind of federal investigation. And Pam Bondi's taken a lot of heat over the last few months, people talking about Epstein list or this or that or the other thing. Kash Patel's taken a lot of heat for, hey, why hasn't this happened yet? I read it on Twitter every day. Everybody just wants answers like this. And in those positions, you're not always at liberty to give out that information when you're in the middle of working on an active investigation, because it could spoil the investigation. I don't doubt that. I think under Kash Patel, I think these guys are doing everything that they absolutely need to do. But I just think that there is a line where the public is not privy to the information right away, which is why I tend to have a lot more patience with them, because I've done investigations like that where you can't let the general public know, because you could actually spoil a court case later.
Sure.
By doing that. So.
Well, and I think that we all suffer from the instant gratification virus. We think that things ought to happen like now.
Well, and the word transparency has become the buzzword over the last probably 5 or 6 years. It's the big thing. We want absolute transparency. Well, I hate to tell the American public this, but when it comes to national security, when it comes to investigations of a criminal intent, you cannot always be fully transparent until it's time to actually put it in the courtroom.
Yeah, and a lot of, when there's a court case going on, a lot of the stuff can't be released because it jeopardizes the fairness of the trial,
exactly.
The rights of the accused. Now, I happen to agree with you about Kash Patel. I think that he's doing a fantastic job. I think he's far more transparent than some other folks. However, there are some folks that disagree with the job that old Kash Patel has been doing. One of those are the women on The View. Notice I didn't call them the ladies of The View. And so I've got a piece of video here of them talking about Kash Patel. Now, I did edit it a little bit. So there was some, mindless, well, it's all kind of mindless. But there was some really mind-numbing stuff in the middle that I kind of cut out. So what you're going to see is the beginning and the end of their discussion of Kash Patel. So go ahead and play the video. Whoopi, a dog could do better.
Well, that person was released a few hours later, and he's facing criticism now for causing confusion over what exactly is going on. This isn't the first time he's done this. Is anybody in charge of the FBI?
What are his
going
qualifications?
on?
What is it? Who is he? He was a podcaster.
Well, he was deputy national security advisor, but I would say
different
from
than
a
a
law
podcaster.
in Trump's first term. But from a law enforcement perspective, he's significantly less qualified than other directors. This has people outraged, and I'm going to be honest with you. I've heard from so many friends on the right who are furious with the quality of the FBI
these
right now.
ladies'
I have just
qualifications
lived
for
my
anything?
whole life trusting the FBI.
Because I'm sorry, it's the FBI.
Yeah.
It's
the FBI.
It's the health department. It's the education department. None of the people in charge know what the hell they're doing.
They don't.
None of them.
None of them know anything.
I don't get
considering
it. I
that
don't
Whoopi has 2 brain
understand
cells left and
what
they're both
is-
fighting for
Who are
third
the cowards
place,
and the enablers? The Republican
gotta put a
Congress
whole lot of
does
confidence in
nothing
that.
about it.
And that's why the
That's
Democrats need
why-
to take over Congress in 2026.
Well, as long as they're
People
going to
must
do a
vote.
better job. I just want to make sure that we know that we can vote people in and out.
Yeah.
This is the thing.
Nobody knows that.
I'm tired and bored of having to report every day that people are doing stupid stuff. That if you could put your dog in charge of the FBI and they do a better job.
All right.
I mean,
all right. So, James, could a dog do a better job than Kash Patel?
Absolutely not. And look, I've told you this before on different programs. It's very rare that you'll find me support any on individual's decisions 100%.
Except for mine, of course.
Of course. But that's because I know your wife and she'd probably beat me. But
Me too.
but the thing is I support him in his intentions. They had that big story that broke on him about using the jet to go here and go there and see his girlfriend. What they don't realize is he's paying the rate to do that. And the director of the FBI is required under national security standards to have an aircraft like that in case he has to respond to an incident. He cannot travel on normal airlines.
Right.
It's forbidden. So yeah, a dog can absolutely not do it. And Kash, I think, is smart in that he keeps a lot of information internal as he needs to do.
Don't let the county commissioners know about that regulation.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be the next one on the agenda. Nick Siddle has to have a Grand Wagoneer parked at his house, the next thing.
Well, we've got an airport in Sheridan. Why not just go for a Lear and call it a day?
Well, we do have 2 jets owned by the state. Maybe we could just transfer one to Nick Siddle's house.
One of them's about to be for sale.
See, that's what I'm talking about. But I think that there's this tendency in the media. I know that there's this tendency in the media to when you don't get the answer you want immediately, obviously the person is unqualified.
Yes. And I see that, like I said, I'm on X constantly. 99% of what I follow are national politics. And you do see that from a lot of good content providers. People that have shows like yourself will actually go, well, this is ludicrous. Why don't we have answers on this by now? Well, it's a chain of evidence. The FBI's got to do their job so that then the attorneys can do their job so that then they can get it to court and make sure the evidence and the chain and everything they want to present is an airtight case. You cannot do that just going out and blabbing everything that's going on. And there's got to be some sort of realistic expectation of, hey, we got to just sit back and let them do their job. It does not happen overnight. I had plenty of investigations in my days where you brought in people and you interrogated them and talked to them, and there's nothing that they could do for you. They really
Right.
weren't associated with the case, so you cut them loose. It's the process of elimination.
Well, and again, we're so addicted to this, like, instant gratification. Like, things do not work in real life. I know this is going to come as a giant shock to everybody, but like, law enforcement does not work the same way in real life as it does on TV.
Oh no.
A good example of that is DNA. On TV, go run the DNA, and then 2 minutes later they come back and say, "Oh, yeah, it's a match." It doesn't work like that. It takes a while, and so too do other investigations. And and just think about in Wyoming, right? We've got a lot of space in between towns.
Yeah.
And so if you've got to go to the crime lab, I mean, it's not like every town has this state-of-the-art crime lab at their disposal. I mean, we do have one at our disposal. It just happens to be in Cheyenne or in Casper. So, I mean, just simple examples of how things actually work. Another one of those, and she in the video, they mentioned like the Secretary of Education. Okay, and their claim is what? Well, they don't know what they're doing. Well, first, I would say that Linda McMahon is an expert business person. If you can take something like WWE and turn it into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, you know a thing or two about business. And there is this misconception, and I'm kind of switching topics on you here a little bit. There's this misconception from those on the left that, well, it's education. It shouldn't be run like a business. It's healthcare. It shouldn't be run like a business. That's not true. Competition breeds excellence, and it works across the board.
That's why some would say we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly my point, right? That the free market doesn't have anything to do with healthcare. How dare you even suggest that? Well, no, it does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. Well, here's another piece that is probably right down the middle of your lane, James, from the Turkey Vulture, the Wyoming Tribune Eagle. Colorado should honor Trump's pardon of clerk Tina Peters. And here's what this is from a friend of the program. I really like Jonathan Lang, really good guy, and he's often pretty insightful. But here's what he says. President Trump announced via Truth Social that he was issuing a full pardon for Tina Peters. This has been a long time coming and will certainly provoke a fiery response from the left. Bring it on. Tina Peters was a newly elected clerk in Mesa County, Colorado during the 2020 election. As the chief election officer of the county, she was alarmed when Colorado Secretary of State Gina Griswold ordered all election data, including the machine software itself, to be erased from every election machine in the state. This order raised serious concerns about compliance with the Help America Vote Act, a federal law which requires all election data to be kept for 22 months. Griswold's order would also have destroyed evidence needed to know whether Colorado was in compliance with the law that allows only federally approved software to be installed on voting machines. So anyway, she objected to it, and they threw her in the big house.
Right.
What say you, Chairman Temple?
I like Tina. I think she was absolutely right in trying to call attention to this and stand up, and she was treated like a whistleblower, like we see so many times, and they were trying to shut her up, which is why she was incarcerated and treated the way she was. Absolutely loved that President Trump came out and gave her a pardon for trying to look after the integrity of Mesa County elections. No different than here. The integrity in elections is a constant, ongoing, and changing thing. We've got to stay on top of it and make sure things are being done correctly.
So what would have happened had Tina Peters just went along with whatever the what her name is, Griswold said? Erase all of the election data and even the software off the machines. Describe for us what implications that would have. What would that actually do?
Well, it's actually a criminal act in elections because you're getting rid of mandatory data that has to be retained for a certain amount of time. So in Wyoming, our election data across the board is retained for a minimum of 22 months. There are some things that we have to retain for the lifetime of the office, like the abstracts for all of the poll books have to be retained indefinitely. So you're tampering at that point when you're deleting all of that information, and it looks horrible. It absolutely looks like you're hiding the true results, because there's no way to go back into that software after that point and get them other than what was downloaded previously.
Right.
So they take all of those data sticks and they download them into whatever software system they're using in Colorado. I know here in Wyoming we use ES&S. For ES&S, we download all of the election results at the night, and they go into a secure program that only the Secretary of State's office and the clerk's offices has access to. And you can record them, and you can keep information in there. But truly, the official record that I would want to see if I had question would be going back to the data.
I think it was very clear to me, anyway, that the reason why this Griswold wanted everything erased was there was something hinky going on.
Exactly. Well, Weston County type of hinky.
Yeah.
There's impropriety, and they're trying to cover it up.
I think that you're dead on there. And I think that she absolutely deserved to be pardoned. Ken?
Forgive me, but I have a hard time taking anybody named Griswold seriously.
Especially this time of year.
Well, maybe that's part of it.
Why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
But I think that it's one of the things that I'm really proud of President Trump for doing is righting some of the wrongs.
Yes.
That, it would be very much easier for him to just, that stuff's in the past, so just forget about it.
Right.
Serve your sentence, be done. Let's not make a big deal out of it. But he is making a real attempt to right some of those wrongs, to correct situations. One of those was with the January 6th gulag, right? He pardoned all of those people, which that was a big one there. I mean, he took a lot of heat for that.
Speaking of taking heat, and because you're here, James, I'd like to get your take on this. Are you familiar with the incident that happened in Park County a while back where after an election was over,
we were going here.
A group of people wanted to just go in and verify that the results were right. The ballots had not yet been destroyed. They put a hold on that. Anyway, long story short, depending on whose version you listen to, those ballots were destroyed while this was still an issue. If you're in that position as the clerk and there is a lot of contention about a particular thing, are you going to destroy those even though you may be allowed to do so within a certain time? What are your thoughts if you're willing to share?
Yeah, no problem there. That's a situation where here's the issue is there are so many people that do not like the post-election audit as it stands. And there's a lot of things that the clerks are required to do by statute that are good things to make sure that the results are correct and before they can certify the election. One of the things you cannot do is destroy the ballots. They're one of the things that have to be retained under state retention laws for a certain amount of time, and it's that 22-month time period. If I have a group of constituents, citizens coming in to complain about we're not sure that this was a correct result, we want to be able to double check it, then we need to go through Secretary of State's office and say, here's the situation. Can we have the authority to reopen the sealed ballots? Because once they're done in the post-audit or post-election audit, they're sealed. And they're not supposed to be opened again unless you have authority to do so. But they are supposed to be retained. You should not be shredding any of that if it's still in question within that 22-month period.
So let me just expand on that a bit. Let's say you get to that 22-month period, you're right down to the last couple of days. In fact, some would say that it was one day past. The contention is still there. There are still a group of people challenging that. Secretary of State is one of them. But technically now you've passed that 22 months. Would you go ahead and destroy them, or would you perhaps hold them and let things settle down?
No, we would hold on to them. And we actually had something very similar to that statewide when Frank Ethorm was the chairman of the state Republican Party. They had put out a letter stating that they are asking, or possibly going to be asking, for certain records from election offices across the state in order to verify certain things have happened the way they should happen according to statute. And as soon as that letter went out, we were absolutely advised, you cannot destroy anything from this point on because we don't know how far they're going to want to go back. So all of the shredding, all of the retention was out the window. At that point, it's a hard hold, because if it goes to court, you better be able to produce those documents.
And I don't really see the point in, destroying ballots. Other records, yeah. That, for example, medical records. Somebody is deceased or whatever, the hospital doesn't have any reason to keep a hold of those records. I understand that, but election records where there might be something that, somebody might question it, like the issue that Ken brought up with Park County. Now, if you're interested, I did what I think is a great episode. Well, all of my episodes are great, but it's entitled "How to Make a Conspiracy Theory," and it was published on December 10th, 2022. And you can still download it. But I go through this very issue that indeed the Secretary of State told them, "Hey, why don't you just hold on to them till the deadline?" And I think it was like 5 days or something. But anyway, the county commissioners destroyed the ballots before the deadline.
Yeah, those dates exactly when that happened, to be frank, are somewhat in dispute. There are those with documentation that say one thing, those with documentation say they don't. But as the county clerk's position is, as soon as it was legally possible for me to destroy those records, I did.
Yeah.
And to me, that is not even in the spirit of the law. There are also those that say that they were premature in destroying those, and I happen to stand on that side from the stuff that I've read.
Well, and premature or not, the issue is if you have a sitting Secretary of State, i.e. Chuck Gray, who is the chief election official of the entire state, whereas the clerks are only the chief election official over their county. Was this
it was Carl.
Was it Secretary
Yeah, it was
Allred?
Carl
Okay.
Allred.
Regardless, whoever is in that office, if they say to the clerks, don't do this, we've got an integrity issue, we've got something in question, they absolutely should listen to the SOS and not do it.
Yeah, and that's not what they did. And like I said, the title of that episode is "How to Make a Conspiracy Theory," and it was published on December 10th of 2022. So I think it's a great episode. And when you listen to it, I was very clear how it was documented in conversations with the Wyoming Secretary of State, news reporting. So, I mean, there's no reason to assume that anything happened differently. Right. Well, we've got about, like 12, 13 minutes, and it has been a while since we've talked about our favorite subject. Things that go boom. Golf legend Phil Mickelson says the two terrorists in Australia were not affected by Australia's stringent gun control. And I quote, golf legend Phil Mickelson, I don't know why they're talking to Phil Mickelson about gun control, but I mean, they are. Anyway, he responded to Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's post-Bondi Beach attack gun control push by noting that the two terrorists who opened fire Sunday evening didn't seem affected by the strict gun laws they have in place. And that's the one thing that none of these Democrats, redcoats, even understand is that if you're a criminal, by definition, you don't follow the law. And so why would a law preventing you from having guns have any effect on you whatsoever? Here he is saying it before we get some reaction to it. It's called Australia Tougher Gun Laws Will Work. Yeah, right.
And I want to conclude finally by saying that the government is prepared to take whatever action is necessary. Included in that is the need for tougher gun laws. And this afternoon at 4 o'clock, I will put on the agenda of the National Cabinet tougher gun laws, including limits on the number of guns that can be used.
They already have limits to 6.
Or
Yeah,
licensed.
yeah.
By
They're totally working.
individuals.
They're totally preventing people
A
from shooting
review
each
of
other.
licenses over a
All right,
period
enough-
of time.
enough of this,
People's
jackass.
circumstances change.
So it always comes from these gun control advocates that we absolutely have to have more gun control. In fact, I've got another piece in here from Tampon Tim Walls saying that we need more gun control. I don't know where he's at. Who really cares about him anyway? But none of them really, none of these liberals understand that gun laws do not prevent people from committing crimes with guns.
Well, they don't care, David. That's the thing, is gun control to them fits in with their agenda of controlling the general populace.
Yes.
Because then the general populace cannot rebel with any kind of arm if the Dems have control of government and decide to put the hammer down on all of us. You know, there's nobody to rise up in the case of our true Second Amendment rights, which is against the tyranny of government.
Now, you're not suggesting that the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting, are you?
Well, yeah. Well, it depends on what kind of hunting you do, I guess. But that's the issue here, and that's why they've been able to do it in places like Australia and most of the European Union,
Right.
And other countries, and that's why they push for it so hard here. It's not the guns issue. It's a we don't want you using the guns against us when we gain power issue. That's what it is.
Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, the one of the reasons why you hear like, and any time, I shouldn't say any time, because I think that shortly after Charlie Kirk's assassination, I was expecting them to start screaming immediately,
Yeah.
but I didn't see that. With the exception of that one, pretty much every time there's a shooting, we hear calls for more gun control, and that is totally the case this time. Tim Walls pushes assault weapons ban days after the Brown University handgun attack. And, I mean, Tampon Tim, he's all about taking your guns away. He did not define what constitutes an assault weapon because there's no such thing, thereby leaving Minnesotans to guess whether the term would be applied as broadly as in Colorado, where some shotguns and pistols are included in the ban. Walls spent months pushing for more gun control after a transgender who changed his name from Robert to Robin opened fire on a Catholic school in Minneapolis. So clearly, all of these gun control laws worked in Minnesota. I mean, well, and it's so disingenuous here. And of course, we can't talk about Tampon Tim and guns without playing this video. This one is called Tim Walls' Weapons of War. It's a classic here. I love this one. Maybe. There we go. No. Okay, I can play it.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Liar. Liar.
Why now, Ken, you're not suggesting that he never carried a weapon of war, are you?
Not one loaded.
Now, why is it, guys, that every time the conversation of gun control comes up, we say we can have common sense. I respect the Second Amendment and I protect the Second Amendment with common sense gun regulations. Why is it that they always use that?
Because they're trying to appeal to the moral high ground, evidently. And the truth is, history has shown us this: an armed society is a polite society.
Yes.
If everybody's carrying a gun, you don't go around doing a lot of things that these bad guys like to do.
Well, and Ken, you often point out that we're way away from the whole, if you insult somebody, you may end up in the street pulling pistols.
Yeah, I think you go back to the politeness of some of our guests that have been here in studio. I think most of our guests would walk into the studio and decide this is not a great place to have an insurrection.
No. That would probably turn out pretty bad. And here's the thing, that we're dealing with people who first they object to reason. they claim that we're using, common sense gun laws. But they will never admit the fact that their gun law did not prevent somebody from shooting another person.
Exactly.
And, I can't remember who it was, Jefferson or Franklin, but they said that they prefer dangerous liberty over, comfortable safety.
Yes.
The people that wrote the Second Amendment must have felt that, because shall not be infringed, and in Wyoming shall not be denied.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very clear. And, for years, they've tried to push the flawed or the absolutely wrong idea that the Second Amendment is for hunting, it's for recreation, it's for, shooting your deer so you could eat. No. Go ahead.
When I was in law enforcement back in the day, riding in patrol cars in Norfolk, Virginia, we always knew that the bad guys outgunned us, because they were going to get the guns regardless. And it took police departments years, and I think Los Angeles was one of the first departments in the nation to finally start recognizing, hey, we need to carry heavier firepower, because the bad guys have already had it for decades. With the Uzis, the MAC-10s, you name it, they have it. But New Year's Eve, if you were working New Year's Eve, come midnight, you would always park your patrol car under like a bank awning or some kind of shelter, because there was so much gunfire in the city. We had police cars that had holes in the hoods or the trunks where the bullets would come down and hit. So you never stayed out in the open right at midnight. I mean, it's going to happen. It's life. They're going to get them regardless, and that's what happened here in Bondi Beach. That's what happened at Brown. The bad guys want to do it. They will find a way.
Well, yeah, and I've always said that the price of your liberty, the cost of the Second Amendment, that is what it costs you, is the possibility that somebody might shoot you in the face. I mean, but that's the way our country is set up, that you can't have liberty without, a little bit of risk, and you cannot prevent criminals from committing crimes. I mean, that's the definition of what they are.
And if they can't find a gun or a knife, they might use a Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Yeah, they might. They might. And then Nick Siddle wouldn't be able to drive it to Casper and charge us for it. Well, my friends, we've burned up another busy broadcast, 2 hours on the program. Thank you. Thank you to my guest, Chairman James Temple, for joining.
Thank you.
And thank you to you for watching. And we'll be back tomorrow with yet another episode of Cowboy State Politics Live.